Staff, faculty, and students are welcome to this program and may check in at different times during the presentation, but I just want to do introductions of those folks who helped out to get this presentation online for us today. And I'd like to just acknowledge Shelley Knight from our extension program. She'll be monitoring our session for chat questions, question and answer. Matt Hokinson is our tech guru who's going to help us out if we suddenly go away. Kevin Spears is here from the college also as a representative of campus security. And myself, I am Dr. Bonnie Ekstrom. I'm the new Director of Counseling and Extension Services here at the college. Our presenters are from the Women's Shelter, and our first presenter will be Billy Shaneborn. Is that the correct pronunciation, Billy?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to have you introduce Selma again for our group, the person that will be presenting with you.
Okay. I have Selma Lisher here with me. She is an advocate here at the shelter and at UETA. And she's here to help
Great.
me let you guys know what's going on.
Okay, great. So Matt has a few announcements from a technology perspective. So, and then Shelley may have some additional things, and then we'll get started. So Matt, I'll let you step in, and I'm gonna mute myself here.
All right. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen really quick. I'm just going to give kind of basics on the chat, and we're going to do a survey at the end. And the main thing with the survey, it's voluntary. Anything that, it's going to be completely anonymous, so we're not going to be able to tell who says what, and that information will be used for research purposes. So I'm going to share the screen really quick and just show you where the chat is. It may look a little bit different on a mobile device if you're tuning in with a mobile device, but it should, the chat, we're going to do things kind of through the chat. So I'll share my screen here, just a second. Okay. 1 second here. Share entire screen. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Okay. So yeah, this is kind of, yours may look a little different. This is what mine looks like. Everything will be through the chat. There'll be maybe a survey link in here, and yeah, it's completely voluntary, and obviously it'll be anonymous as well. So we encourage you to do that, but again, you don't have to. So. And then obviously I'm here for any questions you have, and I'll be here the whole time. So.
Yeah, and I'll just add that this panel discussion is recorded just for record's sake. So we just want to make you aware of that, but we don't plan on, like distributing questions or we want to inform you all. And then if you want to ask like some sensitive questions, of course, there's numbers you can call that I'll display during the presentation. So yeah, just be aware, and thank you all for joining and participating today.
So anyone tuning in, I'd really like to encourage you to ask questions in the chat, and then at the end there will also be a Q&A space to ask questions. Though our presentation is live, those questions will be fielded after our presenters are done speaking, and if for some reason we don't get to all of those questions, we will make sure that those questions go to our presenters so that they could get in touch with you if necessary, if you had something that you wanted to ask that didn't get into the session today. So the Q&A will be at the end, and so we're going to go ahead and invite our first speaker, Billy, to start her presentation, and Shelley will be displaying some numbers and we'll be displaying some other presenter items as we go along. So sit back and learn some things about what your tribal nation is providing for you and the services that are available. Go ahead, Billy.
Hello. So my name is Billy. I'm one of the advocates here at the Women's Shelter. A lot of people don't know that we do have a women's shelter here in Red Lake, which is located behind the IHS. We are the fenced-in building. It's red. So there is a little buzzard at the fence for you to call in. We have to screen everyone that comes in and out of the fence. We are an emergency shelter. We help women in crisis. We can house them for up to 30 days. It does go a lot longer if they're working for their housing or unless they get transferred to another shelter for safety reasons. We have quite a bit of things we do with the ladies. As of now, it's on a standstill with the COVID. But we do provide support groups for the women, talking circles, education sessions regarding physical violence, sexual violence, emotional abuse, and mental abuse. We have a 24-hour call line. There's an advocate available 24 hours a day. And for men too, we do have men that call in. So sometimes if they don't feel comfortable talking to a female advocate, we do have male advocates that we can give our numbers to, or so that they could call them. With males, we are working on trying to house them here at the women's shelter. But as of now, we're supposed to be getting another house built on grounds for the males. But right now we do just put them in a hotel. Otherwise, there is one shelter down south in the Minneapolis area that does have housing for men that we can help them with. We do safety planning with all residents and community women we work with. Safety planning is just going through people we know, writing their numbers down, just something, knowing that you're not alone. That even say if the shelter wasn't available, that you do have family and friends that you can contact, and it just helps them refresh their memory that they do have people out there. While they're here at the shelter, we do help with housing assistance. We don't have money for housing, but we do help provide transportation. We have BICAP, the service center. That is a great resource. And we go to BICAP, Housing Matters, just wherever we can get them into to try to get their name on a housing list, a waiting list. In our education sessions, every day we talk about something new. We're always pulling resources from what we have in our resource room. Otherwise, the internet too, we always see all these great resources we could share, talking with our kids, letting them know what domestic violence is. We do go into schools also. We've been going into the schools for maybe about 4 or 5 years. We do a Live It program. It helps educate the young youth in school what is domestic violence and how we can stay safe. People to contact if we are in a domestic violence. And we also let them know domestic violence isn't only just boyfriend, girlfriend. It could be aunt, it could be a niece, an aunt, nephew, uncle. It could be a close friend. It could be a grandparent. Just educating them, educating the children. And we have a few outreach programs. We have we communicate with, or we collaborate with the police officers quite a bit. They do little trainings for us, and we also do little trainings for them just to help stay on the same page. We have community advocates. So like say if a lady leaves the shelter here, but she still wants our services, we do community outreach. If she allows us, we do go do home visits. They're not just we don't just go in with a pencil or paper and make them feel uncomfortable. You know, we go in there. If they need help doing dishes, you know, we'll all stand around. We'll be help them clean their house, and we'll all talk and, you know, just get a good sense of sister feeling is what some of us call it. And we do have a men's battered re-education program. Some men are court ordered to that program, and some go voluntarily. And that is located at Utah. So there's a couple little things out of Utah. And that's one thing I wanted to let you guys know too, because a lot of people forget about that men's rebattered education program. Todd Smith and Sherry Smith help with that. I believe they meet people. They'll bring them into their, they do sweat lodges, they go in the woods, and then they also have weekly meetings, weekly educational meetings. Anything else? You guys have any questions or what sexual? Okay. Yep. And our sexual assault, we have an advocate on. We go on call every week, Friday to Friday. We answer calls at the hospital. If we get an SA call, sometimes the police will call us, sometimes the hospital will call us. But then once we get that call, the advocate has to respond to that call at the hospital. We'll go there, we'll educate we'll let the woman know what's going to happen in the process of a SANE nurse. And since we don't have SANE nurses here in Red Lake, we usually transport them to the Sanford Advocacy Center, and we stay with them until they're discharged. And we usually, if they want to, we will make space for them here, or if they want to go home, we will transport them home. But with the sexual assault at the hospitals, that's one thing that I want to let you guys know is that we work with women and children, but with with sexual assault, the women they have to be 18 years or older for us to respond. If they're younger than 18, that's when we call FCS. But if the mother is there with the child or the caretaker, and she wants one of the advocates there from the women's shelter, and then we are allowed to be there. But we just need to get permission from the caretaker. SA, that's domestic violence and sexual assault. That's pretty big on our reservation, and it's just the women's shelter is just a great resource to know to call for help. Because when we were going into schools, a lot of the students, I believe we worked from 6th to 8th grade for 3 years, and a lot of them didn't know about the women's shelter, and they were really happy that we had one. We did give them our little cards, our little squishy balls, all that little cute stuff. So they all have that. Hopefully they still have it on their refrigerators or frisbees, bags. So that's surprising when we do get people in college too, because I know there's presentations in the past where a few of them didn't know about the women's shelter. And that's just a huge resource because it's big in our community. So the more awareness we do bring to our community members, the more we can put our foot in the door and help them. And so I'll have Selma talk about Utah.
Okay.
Unicode is located in the old cap office across from the post office. We do different things there. We have sewing classes that we do. Right now, it's kind of halted because of COVID, so we haven't been able to provide classes. But we do sewing, so we help people with regalia. We help people make moccasins. Just anything that they're working on. We can help with beading. Ribbon skirts, yeah. We try to do like cedar ceremonies. Just try to tie in the cultural aspect of healing. We do have male advocates located at Giwita. And they're there for anything. Like if a guy needs to talk, they can go to Giwita and talk to a male advocate. And that's where the Betters Re-Education Program is located too. And we have two prosecutors, Rod and Victor. They're located at Giwita, but they do go into the courts. They talk to the inmates at the jail. They go and let them know if it was a domestic violence charge or if they were a victim of domestic violence, and they're in there, and they do help them get through the court system with their case. And that's also one thing I didn't get to add to the numbers. But Giwita's number is on there, so that's where you can reach Victor or Rod, are their names. And with the list of numbers, we do have a legal advocate. She's located at the courts. If you don't want to come into the shelter and do it, we do help with OFPs or restraining orders. And if you don't feel comfortable coming into the fences and doing it, you can go to the courts and do it. And she'll meet you there in her office. Kingbird, what's her name? Her name is listed. Oh yeah, Tori Kingbird. Then we also have two general crime advocates. Stephanie, they're both with the RLPD, but they're connected to the women's shelter here. We have Stephanie Cobanez, her number is 1902. And we have Michelle Mountain, her number is 2776. And if you're a victim of crime, say that if someone slashed your tires or busted your car windows, or if they broke into your house, they have funds there to help you. And just know that for them to help you, you need a police report. A lot of people don't report the crimes. And even if you don't know the person that did it, it's good to call the police so they can come and see it for themselves. And then that's when you would call Stephanie or Michelle. And if they don't have the money for it, they have contact with other general crime advocates around Minnesota where they all share a pot of money and it gets moved around. So that's a great resource to have. I've seen them help a lot of people with that. Front doors, anything, any type of damage. But you need that police report. Sorry. What else?
So I have,
Oh,
go ahead. Yeah, I
No,
have quite a few questions for you. But if you have more of your presentation, I'd like you to just continue. Otherwise, I've kind of written some questions for myself to ask just for some clarification.
No, I was just bouncing around, saying to whatever came to my mind. But I also did want to mention our director here, Mark Kingbird. We do have a new male director. So this is the first time. A lot of people are surprised about that, but it's different, and it's good. It's nice to have different We had a woman director for so long. She did end up getting ill, so our program manager, Mark, stepped in. So a lot of people, we are getting questions about how do they call here if we do have a male director now. But he does all the grant writing and he does the pays the bills and everything. So he doesn't really work with clients one-on-one unless they request him. So just an FYI on that. We did get a few questions about that, so just make that aware. So go ahead with your questions.
All right, actually, I'm going to let Shelley, Shelley, you've been monitoring the chat and any questions that came in. If you'd like to ask some of the questions, that would be great.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So the one question was related to like how many men as compared to women use the shelter?
Men, I would say we do a hotel motel with the men, or else they're calls, but I say we get 2 to 3 men every 3 months. I know it could I know a lot more could use it, but that's how much calls we get, because we do get, and that's just a hotel motel, so we can house them up to 3 to 5 days.
Okay, thank you. And do you have interns as advocates? And what about volunteers? I think this come from Bonnie and want to know, yeah, like what type of training does an advocate need as well?
Interns, no, we haven't had any. I know we got a couple calls from some of our members that are getting their social degree. We had one maybe come in for a day, but we don't get much of those with the volunteers. It's kind of strict with volunteers because with the confidential here, like some of the ladies feel uncomfortable if there's a new face that comes in every other week, and then they get kind of standoffish and then they keep themselves in their room. We started noticing that when we had volunteers. So it's just strictly just advocates. And our training, with our training, we have this advocacy book. We were trained for about 2 weeks with one of the advocates here, and then after that we would need to go get our sexual assault advocacy training, which is the 40-hour training, and then they send us to St. Cloud for the what's that academy called? It's just called an academy. We go to the University of St. Cloud. That's where I went. They host it somewhere every year, but we go get our training with it's called the academy, and it's with there's law enforcement, social workers, domestic violence advocates, and we just go through this big, it's also a 40-hour training, and they just educate you with just different aspects, and just, I don't know, it's hard to explain, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that's good. Thank you. Let's see, Bonnie, did you want to ask some of your other questions? Or you want me to confuse?
Sure, I can. I have a lot of questions for you now that you've presented, and some I wrote beforehand, but you answered a lot of my questions, actually. I was kind of following up with what you're talking about, the training and all that you get. So are some of your advocates like volunteers? Did you mention that? Or are they trained staff that usually work with you?
They're all trained staff. We have no volunteers at the moment. We haven't had any. I know we do get calls regarding volunteering, but it's just, they were really strict with it. Like how when we get women that have been abused or that have been affected by sexual assault or domestic violence, they kind of get standoffish on new people. So it's just usually they get to meet the advocates that we have here, and so they'll know who to know who to, I can't even
Trust.
yeah, it's difficult. It's like really difficult to explain. I'm so sorry.
No, I understand what you're saying. They want to know who they're working with, and it's kind of a trust issue probably.
It's a trust issue. And then with all of our advocates, we all have different personalities. So that's crazy because I never really thought of it on how our boss hired, how she picked her advocates. Because women can connect to someone, they know who to connect to, and we all have our different personalities. So every time we get women here, they always connect to one advocate, and that's probably due to our different personalities on who they feel they trust or who they work better with. And I'll have to ask her how she explained it, because when she explained it to me, because she pointed out our different strengths and weaknesses, and then like how we look at each other, it was just like, wow, we are, one's really crafty and nifty, the other one just, let's go get this done. And some women just, I'm just mumbling on. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Next
No,
question.
I completely understand what you're talking about. It sounds like some of you will connect with some of those women, and some women need a different kind of person to connect to, and it sounds like she chose you guys really well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's see. I want to know more about this sister feeling that you talked about. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit more? Like when you go into the homes and you kind of just pick up and do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah, well, with Native women, we're very we know what we want, or we're bossy, or sometimes people say we're like grumpy all the time. But like once you get to know a Native woman, they're really they're fun. You just gotta break their little wall down to let them get to know you. But yeah, we go into houses. We have community ladies that, like I said, they prefer their own advocate, but we'll go into houses, and instead of just sitting having a meeting, we'll help with the babies. Babies' toys are all over. We'll help them pick them up. You want me to rinse while you wash dishes? If you sweep, I'll mop. Just give her that encouragement to let her know that we're not there from the shelter. We're there to uplift her spirits and let her know that we're not just your advocate too. We're all connected somehow, and we all feel the same way. We always just need a sister by our side. We always, just someone to uplift us and let us know, all of our houses, our laundry, everything gets pushed to the side sometimes. And then also we just need a sister to come over to help give us that push to, come on, get up, let's do it, get out of that hole you're in. Or, we do take them to store runs. We take them on store runs if they don't have a car. We drive them to the store, take them to check mail, just the basic things, just as a friend instead of as someone that you're working with. And they tend to open up, and that's good that they do.
Yeah, that's a great description. I have a question for Selma.
Okay.
Selma, before COVID, so this is more of a community program that you're working with, right?
Yeah.
Beading and doing things like that, regalia.
Mhm.
What kind of response were you guys getting in the community before COVID? Like how many people might show up to an event?
Well, we were holding sewing classes every day on during the week, and we weren't getting too many participants, maybe like 3 to 4. So we kind of switched our schedule to fit their schedule. So we started doing it on weekends, and we started seeing a lot more participants. So it was going pretty good there until COVID happened, and we haven't had groups for quite a while now.
Yeah, I like your model of kind of working within their schedule and changing it up and helping them out at a time that worked for them. That's really cool. So, Billy, my question to you also about COVID is, how have operations at your facility changed because of COVID?
They changed quite a bit. During COVID, we have 7 rooms here. We have 7 rooms, and we house, our capacity is up to 12. We can house up to 12 people. But since COVID, we did let the ladies know, the ones that we have here, you know, we would like you to stay here. We would like you to limit your visits out in the community, maybe just hospital or store runs as necessary. And if they wanted to depart, they had the option to depart the shelter, but none of them have. And our house right now is at 29 people. We have 7 women and 23 kids, 22 kids. So we do ask them to, it's been the same family since, but they all have their own room. Staff, we go through there, disinfect. Like if we know that a family's eating, they're done, they did their dishes, we'll go in there and we'll just re-wipe down everything they did. But as of now, we are not taking any clients because our rooms are totally full and we're still trying to practice the social distancing here. They are all required to wear masks in the house. The reason why I don't have mine on is because I'm in the back office, but if I was to go out in the house, I'd put my mask on. But we have the plastic windows up. We are getting a lot of calls, so we're just mostly referring them to the closer shelters near us. Like White Earth has a shelter, Thief River has a shelter, Bemidji has a shelter, so we're just trying to get them in somewhere. But yes, all of our rooms are full, and that cut us down on our educational sessions and support groups. So we're not doing them. We're doing like one-on-ones with the moms, but we're still practicing our social distancing with the office where the little glass is up, but we could still hear each other. So we're just going over a little information sheets. We're trying to meet with them once a day, the different ones, but that's how we're educating them now. So no support groups or nothing.
So
no new
one thing-
clients since the house is full.
Right, right. What is your full capacity? What is the number?
It's 12, but we're at 29 because of,
goodness.
you know, we have big families.
Right, right.
So it's not like it's maybe a mom with 5 kids. Maybe we have 3 moms with 5 kids, and you know, it's just our families are like, and we can't not include their kids when they come to the shelter. So we're making it work.
So one thing you talked about a little bit last week when we talked with you was kind of just your staffing had to change too, as far as the numbers that could be in the house at the same time. Yep.
Our staffing, they have us working every 3 days. So there's 3 of us on day shift. So we're working every 3 days. There's three on evening, you know, just, it's all going around. Just so if one of us were to come in contact with COVID, it wouldn't take all of our staff out. We would all have our separate ways, we wouldn't be together in the office. But right now we're in. I came back to Selma today. So that's with our scheduling going on here. And they do have us unlimited restrictions. They wanted us to stay in the office, but like when the house is quiet, you know, because the women, they all have TVs and they all have bathrooms in their rooms. So when we know when people are in the house. So if it's quiet, we'll, like when I'm on, when it's quiet, I'll usually get up with the bleach and washcloth and just go wipe down everything just for, you know, I'll have my mask on and yeah, the moms all know too that are in the house, you know, if you come out of your room, make sure your mask is on, you know, always wash your hands. And then they got to take their temp, just like any other tribal business that they have going on right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably made things even that much harder, just to kind of step that operation up with the COVID restrictions and cleaning and all. And okay, yeah. I have a question for Kevin, actually our campus security person. Kevin, I just wanted you to kind of maybe share a little bit about what our college response is to any issues of domestic violence that might come up during a college session.
Kevin, you're still muted if you're trying to talk right now.
Yeah, I hit a bad area on my cell phone. What was the question? I'm sorry. Hello?
That mute button gets you every time. So I was just asking about what is our college response to any issues of domestic violence that might come up during our campus sessions.
Okay, a lot of times what we do is we tend to separate the two individuals, and of course law enforcement is called, but I have law enforcement background, so knowing the process there and determining the two individuals for the aggressor and the victim, it happens very quickly. But what I like to do is separate the two individuals. That's pretty standard protocol. But it's a very long and lengthy response, then to which, depending on the individuals, if they're students, we refer them to you, Bonnie, or the person in your position. And of course, from that point on, all that information is confidential, and I don't have any privy to that information.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that, first of all, that we have a campus policy and campus response to this issue. It does come up during somebody's time in the college, and that we have a kind of a way to track and take care of that issue. And it looks like I'm in on the loop on that, so hopefully that doesn't occur very often. Do you have any numbers on whether that even occurs on our campus? Much,
I do.
Kevin?
It's found in our crime statistics, published every year in October. You can find that on our webpage. But the number right now, in the time that I've worked at the college, it's been 2. And these were community members. They weren't students.
Okay, thank you. So Shelley, maybe you or anyone else has had questions as you have heard our speakers present just this really comprehensive program that the Women's Shelter is, and not just a program, but really just people really reaching out to these women and men and families that are victims of domestic violence. I'm not sure if any students have any questions at this time. If you do, students, faculty, staff, if you would put any questions you have in the chat box so that we can have our presenters respond to those. Again, if there are any questions after we wrap up, Billy will get you any of that information and see if we can get those questions answered if some people don't have an opportunity to do that right now.
One thing I'd like to add, Bonnie, regarding campus safety, a lot of times I get copies of OFPs from students, and we like to keep those on file. A lot of times I know it's a drag to keep an OFP in your purse or on your person, but we like to keep those on file, and they're kept very confidential. So we're happy to help out in that sense as well.
That's really good to know for our students that it's in a safe place and a confidential place, but it's also something that you as our campus security officer can be aware of and kind of be monitoring as well.
And then the same thing here too. The ladies, if they want us to keep their OFP copies, we do keep them. So even if they weren't residents, they'll come drop a copy off with us. So if they do happen to run into the abuser and they have to call the police will dispatch here and ask if there is an OFP and if it's active. So that is, yeah, because keeping paper is kind of rough. I'm always losing I lost your numbers, Bonnie.
I think you talked about also just the legal response to domestic violence, which can be really just very intimidating. I mean, first of all, having been a victim of domestic violence, what that would even just entail, and then having to go through the legal process, which honestly, for all of us, I don't care what kind of education or experience you have, it can be intimidating. So I think it's really amazing how much of a wraparound response you guys have with legal advocates as well.
Yes, we are super lucky to have the ladies located at the courthouse and at the RLP or at the police station, because sometimes when we call the courts and there's new staff all the time, we kind of get they'd give us all these fees we'd have to pay for a police report or something, and where we could just call those ladies and they can just print them out and give them to our ladies that need them for, it's just a blessing to have all three of those ladies in those positions. We don't have to go jump a bunch of loops or nothing, just one phone call away and they can just help us just like that. And help the victims too, so.
Yeah, and just navigating the legal system and understanding the language of it, and just, yeah, it can be a lot for anyone. So
yeah.
So I'm wondering if any of our other staff or faculty or students have questions for these presenters. Please take an opportunity to do that now. So Shelley, I'm not sure if you're seeing any other new questions or
none come through yet.
Okay.
But I do have a question myself, actually. Does the women's shelter have any particular programs or activities that specifically try to reach out to Red Lake Nation members in the Bemidji or other border town areas?
We do collaborate with the women. We do collaborate with there's shelters like the Northwoods, Bemidji, Battered Northwoods, is that what it's called? Battered Women Shelter, also known as Northwoods. We collaborate with those advocates all the time. Sometimes we have to switch residents due to safety reasons. VIP in Thief River, we do work with them, but usually we participate in their activities if they have awareness walks or little groups or whatnot. We do attend those, but that's about it. We just usually try to do our own little thing here in Red Lake. But if we're invited, we do go, and we're always talking with one of the shelters. Oh, White Earth too. I don't know if I mentioned White Earth and just so you guys know too, Cass Lake is working. I know they got a homeless shelter built, and I know they are working on a women's shelter too, because we get clients from all around Minnesota. So
yeah, that's really great to know. Thank you. I did see.
I don't know if I answered your question correctly. I'm sorry, I started mumbling off. If we participated, is that what you said?
Yeah, no, that's great. Great to know who you're working with and where the new shelters will be. And yeah, that's really useful. I did see on Facebook, you guys did a Ride Against Domestic Violence What was that event like? Is that a yearly event?
No, that was just something new due to COVID. Since we usually held a conference in October, we would bring some speakers from the outside and bring them in. But since, you know, since 2020 happened, we did a parade. So we went through all 4 of the districts, just honking the horn, and some of us had our vehicles decorated, and then a lot of community members wrote down a victim that they knew that passed away from domestic violence. And then I believe just a couple weeks ago too, there was a few of us standing outside the store. I'm not too sure if any of you guys seen that. It was, oh my goodness, it was like 20 degrees out that day. We picked the coldest day to go outside, but we were all taking turns walking back and forth in front of the store holding up our signs. So I hope some of you have seen it. We froze that day.
We try to do little activities or events just to get awareness out. So it's just anything that comes to mind, we try to do.
Yeah, it's really great to see programs like yours really getting creative and trying to reach the community during COVID, you know, in a safe way. So thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
So I have one last question for you, unless any students type in any questions. Shelley, you and I talked about this, and it looks like there is a community response, and you'll go into people's homes and the other program that Selma works in. Are there like specific activities for children that you have a lot of children at your shelter, and the kinds of things that you probably were able to do before COVID, maybe activities for the kids? What kind of things do you do for the children?
Just the same as women. So like when we have our support groups or educational sessions with the moms, the kids, they want to have groups too, because we have a little microphone and we, you know, announce group. So the kids now, they all want to have their own group, and we have some awesome advocates here that just love babies, and they do their own groups. Sometimes we do we'll do artwork with them. We'll do good touch, bad touch. We'll do hands if we're not hitting. But yep, all the kids, they get their own groups just like the moms do, and that really excites them because they get to go running for group time.
Yeah.
At Utah, we have a singing group, singing class. So we encourage the young kids to come and learn how to sing. We have a backup for the ladies, backup singing. So we try to encourage the younger ones to come and join in too.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. And I love that the kids want to have their own groups and that you guys respond to that. And yeah, and that you're starting really early to educate them about this issue, and, you know, not trying to hide from them things that are going on, and teaching them about good and bad touch, and just really educating them, but at the same time, just supporting them too. I think it's really cool.
Yes.
So it looks like I win the prize for the most questions asked for this entire presentation. But I just think you guys did a great job really presenting to us all of the services available, and really made it clear that it's not just, you know, a program or people coming to you with pen and paper kind of taking down information. It's really just a caring, sister feeling kind of service that you're providing for this community, and it's amazing, really. And I appreciate the fact that you're kind of growing your services for men as well, and that, you know, you're really responding to the needs of the community. And I appreciate Kevin's piece in the college with, you know, immediately knowing what the response needs to be and kind of stepping up to really support people who are in these shoes. And yeah, so we really appreciate you taking time out of your day today to present to our college. And since this is recorded, and if students are unavailable, they will be able to tune into this at some point when they do have some time. But we really appreciate your time and coming to us today, even if it had to be virtual and online.